A narrow stretch of water is now at the heart of a global power play. Iran has reportedly decided that only Chinese vessels will be allowed through the Strait of Hormuz. The strategic waterway, a lifeline for nearly a fifth of the world's oil, has been effectively blocked since the conflict escalated. The Revolutionary Guards claim complete control and warn any ship attempting to pass could be targeted. China has condemned the U.S.-Israel strikes on Iran, and Washington says its Navy is ready to step in. Reports say Iran will allow only Chinese vessels to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. The move is described as a gesture of gratitude towards Beijing for its stance during the war. The strait connects the Persian Gulf to the open sea. It is one of the world's most critical energy choke points. Since the conflict began, Iran has blocked passage, disrupting a route that carries roughly 20% of global oil supplies. If the restriction holds, it could reshape global shipping flows overnight. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps says it now has complete control over the strait. The guards warn that any vessel attempting to cross risks missile strikes or drone attacks. They have described the waterway as an active military zone. Countries such as the United Arab Emirates and Qatar rely on the strait for access to global markets. With the route blocked, energy shipments to Asia face uncertainty. Markets are watching closely for signs of prolonged disruption. Beijing has strongly criticized the U.S. and Israeli airstrikes on Iran. According to Xinhua, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi told Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov that the killing of Iran's supreme leader Ali Khamenei was unacceptable. China has called for an immediate ceasefire and protection of shipping lanes. Beijing is the largest buyer of Iranian oil. Most of its supplies pass through the Strait of Hormuz. A prolonged blockade could directly impact China's energy security. U.S. President Donald Trump says Washington will not allow global energy flows to be disrupted. Posting on Truth Social, Trump said the U.S. Navy would begin escorting tankers through the strait if necessary. He wrote that the United States will ensure the free flow of energy to the world. The statement signals potential direct naval involvement in the Gulf. 20% of the world's oil, one narrow maritime corridor, missile threats from Iran, naval escort warnings from Washington, and China positioned as the only approved passage. The Strait of Hormuz is no longer just a trade route. It is now a front line in a widening geopolitical confrontation. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has declared that it now controls the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical energy choke points. In a statement carried by Fars F news agency, IRGC Navy official Mohammad Akbarzadeh said, quote, "Currently, the Strait of Hormuz is under the complete control of the Islamic Republic's Navy." He warned that any vessels attempting to pass through the narrow waterway risk damage from missiles or stray drones. The Strait of Hormuz is a vital shipping route for global energy supplies. Roughly 1/5 of the world's oil and gas flows through the corridor, which lies between Iran and the United Arab Emirates. But traffic through the strait has now almost entirely halted following Iran's threats to set fire to ships attempting to pass. The escalating standoff has sent shockwaves through global energy markets. In response, U.S. President Donald Trump said the United States Navy is prepared to protect ships in the Middle East if necessary. Trump stated that the U.S. government would step in to prevent an energy supply crunch sparked by the U.S.-Israel war with Iran. On social media, the president announced that he had ordered the United States Development Finance Corporation, the DFC, to provide political risk insurance and guarantees for maritime trade traveling through the Gulf. Trump said this coverage would be offered at a very reasonable price to ensure what he described as the free flow of energy to the world. He also pledged military escort for ships if necessary, saying protection would be provided as soon as possible. The announcement came as global oil and gas prices continued to surge, raising concerns about the potential impact on household energy costs worldwide. Following Trump's statement, oil prices dropped back slightly. However, uncertainty remains. According to data from Lloyd's List Intelligence, roughly 200 crude oil and product tankers are now stranded in the Gulf. At the same time, some insurance companies have sharply increased premiums for vessels operating in the region. An Iranian official had earlier threatened to set fire to any ship attempting to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. There are also reports that the Iranian military has fired on several vessels in the area. Despite Washington's assurances, experts say the situation may not be easily resolved. Richard Meade, editor-in-chief of Lloyd's List Shipping Journal, said it remains unclear whether the U.S. president's measures will be enough to address the safety concerns driving the supply disruption. He pointed to previous Houthi attacks on ships in the Red Sea in recent years. Those incidents prompted many shipping companies to avoid the route altogether, choosing longer and more expensive alternatives, even with U.S. military intervention in place. Meade said, quote, "There was never really a point at which insurance alone would have prevented ships from going through the Strait of Hormuz." He added, quote, "Just because you've got a naval escort doesn't mean to say you're safe." Analysts are now warning that if the disruption to shipping continues for a prolonged period, crude oil prices could surge above $100 a barrel. Such a spike would have a significant impact on petrol prices globally, including in the United States, despite its substantial domestic energy production. The developments come as President Trump met with Energy Secretary Chris Wright and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent to discuss plans to address the growing energy crisis. Speaking to reporters at the White House, Trump defended the war effort, saying something had to be done about the Iranian regime. He acknowledged that the conflict could lead to higher oil prices for a little while, but dismissed concerns about a lasting impact. "As soon as this ends," Trump said, "those prices are going to drop, I believe even lower than before." For now, however, one of the world's most important maritime energy routes remains effectively frozen, and the standoff between Iran and the United States continues to intensify. The Strait of Hormuz sits at the center of a rapidly escalating confrontation, with global energy markets watching every development.